Hi, everybody. Welcome to the DRF Breeding Report. I'm Dan Illman, always pleased to be talking with DRF's Nicole Russo. This week on the Breeding Report, we're going to discuss two horses that recently won Kentucky Derby qualifying point races, El Arib and Gormley. Nicole, let's start with El Arib, who's sort of come out of nowhere onto the Kentucky Derby scene with a gigantic victory in the Grade 3 Jerome.
Yeah, El Arib, he's by Exchange Rate, who's a very good juvenile sire out of an APND line mare, which you would think would add some stamina. The thing that really interests me looking at El Arib's page is that he goes right back to one of those Samson Farm Foundation families. For listeners who maybe aren't as aware of Canadian breeding and racing, Samson Farm is an operation that up there is like a Claiborne or a Calumet. There's just such a good, consistent operation that consistently turns out high-end horses. And El Arib actually goes right back to Loud Wrangle, who's one of their foundation mares. She produced champions Ruling Angel and Tilt My Halo and 4 other stakes winners, including stakes winner Tiffany Tam, who's the line that El Arib goes back through.
You're absolutely right. There is a ton of class and distance on the bottom of this pedigree. We're going to take a look at El Arib's romping victory in the Grade 3 Jerome. He's already on the lead as they swing into the stretch. And he kind of passed 2 tests here, the wet track test, but also around 2 turns. And I think that was a little bit of a question mark with the Exchange Rate on top.
Yeah, I think it was as well. Exchange Rate, as I mentioned, throws a lot of very good juveniles, especially in Europe. He's had some success as well, but some of them haven't necessarily trained on at 3. Obviously, we're still in January here, so it's going to bear watching how El Arib trains on. But I think that 2-turn test was very important. Looking at the bottom side of his page, his Damn Feathered Diamond got her only career win at 1 1/8 miles. She's got, a couple of foals who have won at 1 1/8 miles, a 1.70 miles. So it's a very good, at least middle distance pedigree.
And the Dams a half to a Grade 3 place dirt router, the very hearty Sky Diamond, who earned almost over $500,000, as well as Dixieland Diamond, who was a very versatile multiple stakes winner going long, winning on turf and dirt. And El Arib was always highly thought of at public auction. He sold for $100,000 as a yearling and then came right back the following year at OBS March and sold for $340,000. And that's a lot of cash for an Exchange Rate.
Yeah, but when you consider some of the back class on his female page and the fact that Exchange Rate died within the last calendar year, there aren't going to be too many more of them coming down the pike, a little bit of supply demand there. I think it makes a lot of sense that this horse is pretty well regarded.
91 Beyer speed figure for El Arib in the Jerome. His prior race, a 94 in the Lewis down at Laurel Sprinting. So El Arib gives his trainer Cathal Lynch plenty of options. I'm sure he'll continue down the road, perhaps in New York. What does your gut tell you about El Arib's potential distance limitations, overall quality? It is very, very early, obviously, in January, but what does your gut tell you pedigree-wise about El Arib? Do you think he'll take it all the way to the classic distances, or that he'll be more of a middle distance runner?
Pedigree-wise, my gut feeling is that he is a bit more of a middle-distance runner. I think he could have a lot of success, on the New York Derby Trail and the races coming up, especially, say, the Wood Memorial at 1 1/8 miles. But I feel that some of these distances stretching up to, say, 1.25 miles are going to be a little outside of his scope.
Let's talk about Gormley, who exploded onto the scene last year with a Grade 1 win in the Front Runner Stakes for 2-year-olds. Obviously, very popular and familiar connections with the Mosses and John Sheriffs of Zenyatta fame. And Gormley came back off a somewhat disappointing performance in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile to win the Grade 3 Sham Stakes. Let's take a look at that race right now, and let's take a look at Gormley's pedigree, because he's by Malibu Moon, and Malibu Moon can sire a Derby winner.
Yeah, Malibu Moon, represented a few years ago by Orb, winner of the 2013 Derby. Orb was really a breakthrough horse for Malibu Moon, as he'd sired a lot of very good fillies, but not necessarily that, top-level colt. He did have Declan's Moon, who was a 2-year-old champion, but unfortunately had some struggles training on. Malibu Moon with fillies like Life at 10, Malibu Prayer, just countless good fillies. And Orb was really a breakthrough horse for him in that regard, getting that classic performer.
When you look at the bottom of this pedigree, however, at least I'm just amazed at how much turf and class there is. I mean, the dam Race to Urga by Bernstein, she raced exclusively on the grass and was a stakes winner on the surface. But when we go back, that third dam, she was a very nice horse on turf.
Oh, yeah. He goes right back to Astropod, champion grass mare, won the Arlington Million over the boys, could go 1.25 miles, but did it brilliantly, running it in 1:59. She's a half to horse of the year criminal type, just so much class. Gormley's second dam, Miss Mambo, was classic placed in France. Race to Urga, as you mentioned, a stakes winner, going 1.16 miles on turf, not surprising being by Bernstein, who was a very good turf sire. I think it's so interesting that you see a pedigree like this with all of this international class and turf class, maybe balanced out by Malibu Moon, who is more of a dirt sire. Either way, I think Gormley's got a lot of stamina and distance ability in that family, regardless of what surface his future is on.
And you mentioned criminal type. He was a remarkably underrated horse for Wayne Lucas. I believe he beat both Easy Goer and Sunday Silence when they were 4. So we see this pedigree by Malibu Moon, sire of Kentucky Derby winner Orb. All of this class and distance on the bottom, a lot of it on the turf, but you get the feeling that this horse is going to be sort of a classic dirt horse, and he's got that good tactical speed as well. He's a very intriguing prospect in Southern California.
Yes, I did pull up Gormley's pedigree when he first burst onto the scene, winning the front runner last fall. And at that time, my first gut impression, as you asked earlier, was that he was a serious classics contender based on that page and based on the fact that he had already shown dirt ability.
A $195,000 yearling buyback at Keeneland. Gormley certainly has the pedigree. He has the connections. Not only did Sheriffs and the Mosses campaign Zenyatta, but they also won the Derby with Giacomo. And I'd have to think that Gormley's going to be on the short list right now of Kentucky Derby contenders. Nicole, thanks so much this week. We'll see you next week for more news on the DRF Breeding Report. Make sure to follow at DRF Breeding and at DRF Russo for the latest breeding notes. Until next week, I'm Dan Illman.